Well, that didn't work out well. Let's talk about it. The Badgers get dump trucked in the desert. We're going to talk about that, players of the game, and just how far away is a team like Arizona from Wisconsin right now. Let's talk about all that and more on today's Locked On Badgers. Let's go.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Excuse me there. I decided to almost not show up like our transition defense. Figured I could take the night off too. If we don't have to run back on defense, maybe I don't have to be here to do a show. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnCollege. Use code LockedOnCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Daily fantasy sports made easy with Prize Picks. All right, let's talk about it. A lot I want to get into. I want to get into your thoughts. Obviously, the Badgers lose. The game was not competitive. That means we got to play the sad noise. It's a sad therapy session. We've been playing the good one lately, but you got to break this one out when it doesn't go well. All right, let's talk about it. I got a couple big take items, and then really the rest of the show is just wherever y'all want to take it. Here's my big take items. Let me see if I got them here. All right, let's start here. I think it's important to acknowledge Arizona's really good. That is a really good team. Deep, they're long, they're athletic, they have ISO scorers, they have shooters that spread the court, they got big men, they're well coached. That's a great coach. Lloyd is a great coach. They're bought into their system, they're relentless. The pressure defensively was really good. They made Wisconsin fight for shots the entire night. They knew exactly what they wanted to do offensively. And by the way, it's hard to get teams to commit to run all the time. Like, that takes commitment. That takes a lot of practice. That takes a lot of endurance. You have to emphasize that at all times. Like, they're bought in and they're running consistently. They're running with space. A lot of teams run and they turn the ball over. They take bad shots. They run into space really well. They find great cutters. They're a really good team, guys. So let's start there. Credit to Arizona. That's a tough place to play. I've been in games there. I was born in Tucson. I've been there. They're really good. Let's start there. The second thing is, it's one game. Just like I said the exact same thing after we beat Marquette, led wire to wire. You don't take too much from one game, the good or the bad. You're never as good as your best film. You're never as bad as your worst film. It's just one game. And in a 3-game stretch where you played Marquette, Michigan State, and Arizona, you went 2-1. That's all you could. That's more than you could ask for. They went 2-1, and quite frankly, they won the two important ones, right? They beat the rival and they beat the Big Ten team. Like, you lost to the number one team in the country on the road. Now, where that isn't as comforting is how you lost, right? If you went in and you lost, the line for this game I think was 9.5. Luckily, your boy did not have money on that one. If you had gone in and you had lost 89-76. Right? Or 77-60. You'd be like, all right, Arizona's better, but we showed up, we competed. This was not that. This was a poor performance. Everything I just said about Arizona being really good, that's true. About it's just one game, that's also true. It is also true Wisconsin didn't show up for whatever reason. That was a bad performance. And quite frankly, there were moments in the second half it looked like Wisconsin had checked out. It looked like they, outside of a few players, we're going to talk about it, but it looked like they were done. We're done. We went 2-1. We're okay. And there were moments in the game where it looked like that. That was embarrassing. That parts of that second half were embarrassing. I thought it was like at times almost a layup line for Arizona. Really, really bad. All right, let's go back to Arizona a little bit. They shot really, really well. And there's two trains of thought here, right? Like, you shot really, really well. That sometimes that just happens, and you're not going to be a team when they shoot really, really well. They got a lot of good looks, though, right? And that's defense. Like, you have to make those looks more difficult. The transition defense in this game was atrocious at times. And I have some clips. I'm going to put some up. Like, there's times where our guys are jogging back, and Arizona's sprinting, and they're getting layups at the rim. They're getting easy shots. They're getting open threes. That's not great. That's not a team just shooting really well. That's a defense giving the other team too many good looks, too many open opportunities. And that's effort. That's hustle. You got to give a crap and sprint back on defense. I'm sorry. You knew Arizona was going to try to push the tempo. They're going to get some buckets because they're really good and they have elite athletes, but the transition defense was really, really poor at times. Like a team shouldn't be able to get that many great looks against you. So I thought that was frustrating. Arizona had an 19-8 edge in fast break points. They had 6 blocks, 5 steals. They had a 7-point edge in turnovers. All those are hustle things, right? Steals, blocks, turnovers, points off turnovers, fast breaks. They just outworked us. And that's easy sometimes when you get the shots are going in, then you get momentum rolling, then the crowd gets into it. But they just outworked us in a lot of ways in this game. And work, effort, that stuff, you can't get outworked on the road, especially by a team that's better than you. Arizona's better than us. They can't be better than you and also outwork you. Doggone it, man. All right, let's get some of the comments in here. And again, this is a game. This isn't the end of the world by any stretch, right? This isn't even that shocking to me to some degree. Like Arizona's better than us. They're deeper than us. They're more athletic than us. They're playing at home. They just got the number 1 seed, our number 1 ranking in the country. They lived up to the billing, and we did not live up to what we needed to do. Okay. Atheist 14 says, yeah, this is quite a few winnable games coming up. Yep, let's put this behind us. I like that. Guy says, bad defense coupled with Arizona hitting threes like crazy. Let this get out of control in a hurricane. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. Like Arizona hit some tough shots, but Arizona has guys that can hit tough shots. And Wisconsin's defense gave them too many easy looks. So it's a combination of those two things. It's not just that every shot Arizona was hitting, you're like, they're like Steph Curry. How are they doing this at Dame time? No, they hit some tough shots. There's a bank 3. There was some nonsense shots, but a lot of their looks were pretty good looks. And it was just poor Wisconsin defense, right? They did it. But you got to, again, give credit to Arizona. They did a great job working the high-low game. They isolated 2 or 3 dunks off of that. It just is what it is. Arizona was a good team. They shot well. I think Wisconsin kind of got knocked to the floor, and I don't think they responded very well. Like I think it's kind of as simple as that. Let me give you another one of my big takes. John Blackwell has to play more. He has to play more early. Like he ended up playing 26 minutes, but a lot of that is in garbage time. There was a point in the first half he had 6 points in 7 minutes, and guard took him out. Like I'm sorry, you got to understand in that moment. He just hit 2 threes. He's a young dude. He can play more. He's got to play more. I don't understand this. Well, eventually, he might have to start pretty soon. Like, he's your best player. He's the only guy in the second half of this game. I shouldn't say that because that's unfair. I would need to go back and look at the game to actually say that. I thought he was maybe one of the only guys in the second half of this game that was playing consistently hard. There was a stretch in the second half at about the 7-minute mark where we were out of the game by all realistic measures. And John Blackwell drove into the paint, kicked it out, drew 2 guys, kicked it out to Ilver for a corner 3, wide open. That's a beautiful play. Ilver missed it, came back the next possession. He did the exact same thing, drove in hard, drew 2 guys, kicked it out to Ilver. Ilver hit that 3. The next possession he came down, he drove baseline, got contact, got fouled. He was the only guy that Arizona at times was really struggling with in the second half. It seemed like everybody else honestly kind of punched their parking slip and they were heading to the parking lot, whereas Blackwell was still balling. That dude's a dog. Like you gotta find time for him earlier in the game. I don't think you could take him out when Greg Gard took him out. So more Blackwell, please. Connor Sejan, like again, he came to the game. There's some struggles defensively. He got driven on a couple times. Had a nice pin down screen offensively where they ran him around, kind of a pin down curl. Got the shot wide open, missed it. 0 points. Like, it's just not working this year. It's not the Connor we saw for so much last year. And without Connor coming off the bench providing that shooting, again, you see some of the liability off the bench. Outside of Blackwell, there's not really much from scoring there. I thought Winter actually looked pretty good. Hit 1 3, but he was fluid, shot another one. He got out-physicaled a couple times in the post. We expected that this year from him. I thought offensively he looked okay. So to me, that was good. All right, coming up, all your comments. That's what we're doing the rest of the show. I have one more take on, did this kind of show us the gap between Wisconsin and maybe where we need to get to be a number 1, number 2 type seed team? To just kind of show us a blueprint of where we're lacking still. We're going to get into that, plus all your comments coming up on a therapy session of Locked On Badgers. We do them whether we win or lose, guys. We do them whether we win or lose. But first, today's episode is brought to you by our good friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is the fastest growing daily fantasy platform in North America for a reason. It's simple. It's easy. You don't have to pick between thousands of other people and their numbers. You just pick between 2 and 6 players going more or less on statistical categories. Like tonight, you could have picked more than 11 points, whatever would have been on John Blackwell. You would have hit on him. Hopefully, you would have picked the under on whatever Connor Sejan's line was said. Whatever it is, that's how you play Prize Picks. Just over under statistical categories, or more or less on statistical categories. Different players, different sports, whatever it is, and watch the money flow in. It's fast, it's easy, it's simple, in and out in under 60 seconds. And with Apple Pay, watch the money roll in. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made incredibly easy. It's fast, simple, it's easy. That's the reason we use it. prizepicks.com/lockedoncollege. All right, let's get comments, guys. Let's jump into it, because that's really what this is always all about. It's the community. We come together, wins or losses. They're more fun after wins. All right, let's get comments. Okay. Brian Scott says they don't have to win everything. I think they'll be fine. Yeah, it's just one game. It's not the end of the world. Let's keep going down here. Dark Gray says they're just a much better team. There's no other way to explain it. So yeah, like this is that there's gray area in all this, right? They are absolutely a much better team, 100%. But you still can't go on the road and be down by like 30, right? They're a better team, but we're not Wesleyan. We're not, we need to, and I say we, obviously I'm not on the team, but the Badgers program is in a spot where it has to be more competitive than this. And you can't go on a national stage like this. I mean, a game that this was billed as a big game. Arizona's first number one ranking since 2004, 2014, whatever it is. This is a big game on a primetime channel, and you laid an egg. So yeah, they are much better than us, but Wisconsin has to play way better. They're not 30 points better than us, is what I'm saying. Badger Ron says, please explain to me why Connor is not playing during garbage time. Let me get into, so I had a list of hot takes or things that I just want to talk about. So in general, I got frustrated in about the last 2.5 minutes when Arizona emptied their bench and Greg Gard left basically the starters out there. He brought Wahl off, he brought Hepburn off and Crowl, but you had Blackwell out there. You had, I think, Klesman out there. I don't understand that. I think it's a stubborn thing. Like, get your starters and your key players off the court. I understand you're maybe trying to send some type of message, but the game's over. Like, I would have rage quit if Blackwell, because he's still playing like an animal, because he's crazy competitive. The game's over. Get the guys you need off the court so you don't sprain an ankle or do something crazy at the end of a game when people are frustrated. That was crazy to me. I don't know why Connor wasn't out there. I quite frankly wouldn't have put Connor out there anyway in those moments. Arizona emptied the bench. The game was over. There's 2 minutes left. Take John Blackwell Jr. out of the game. Like, take Max Klesman out of the game, because you can't lose one of those guys. And every minute you're on the court, there is some type of risk for injury. So I didn't like that. That was interesting to me. Let's go. Don't Badger Me says, ugh, awful. Gotta forget it and move on. We're still a good team, just not national championship team like Arizona. That's it. I think that's the whole context of this encapsulated in one sentence. Like, this is still a good Badger team. This is still a Badger team that beat Marquette, beat Virginia, beat Michigan State, battled against Tennessee. It's just not. It's not a number 1 seed. It's not a number 2 seed in the tournament. This team's not quite good enough. And this is a great jumping off point into the next comment I was going to make, where I think this game shows you the blueprint of what we're lacking, right? Like, you can see the difference in depth and length and athleticism from Wisconsin to Arizona. According to the box score, which I don't think is official yet, Wisconsin was 1 of 2 on dunk attempts. Okay, Arizona was 7 of 8. I mean, dunk attempts, it's not the be-all, end-all. A 2-point layup counts just as much as a 2-point dunk, but that is reflective of the athletic differences and the length differences between these two teams. You got to get more athletic. And the Badgers had a long stretch where they struggled to get easy shots, whereas Arizona was just running, just using athletes. That's a difference. You got to get more athletic. A guy like Frite coming in next year is going to help. A guy like Robeson coming in next year is going to help with his jumper. The team has to get more athletic. Storr helps in that aspect. Blackwell helps in that aspect. But Arizona's got like 5 of those dudes, right? Like, I think you see the difference. You see the blueprint of where Wisconsin still needs to get better. doesn't mean Wisconsin's not a good team. Wisconsin is a very good team this year, a very good team. But like I've said the entire year, they're inconsistent. And you've seen the inconsistency all year. You saw it in the loss to Providence. You saw some of it in the loss today. You saw the highs with Virginia, Michigan State, Marquette. You see some of the lows. There's times where we struggle scoring, and there's times where we struggle defensively. You saw that tonight. Both of them happen. And again, Arizona's really good. That is part of it. Pedro says, we just don't have the juice to keep up with them. Still should be good in the Big Ten. I think it's a top 3 team in the Big Ten. Now, I don't think the Big Ten's great this year. I think it's Purdue. We might be the second best team in the Big Ten. I don't know. I don't think the Big Ten's great, but I think we're fine. I think we're absolutely fine. Dark Ray says, if Carter Gilmore is going to be on the floor, he needs to be able to shoot the ball or at least provide some kind of offensive threat. Therein's the rub. He can't. He's not a good shooter. So, that's frustrating. Ryan Bolt says, you got some splaining to do. Rasheed, Ryan, and Justin. UW is decent, but not that good. I think I've been consistently on the Wisconsin is a good but not great team. I don't know. I feel like, I don't know. I don't think I have explaining to do. Maybe I do. I don't know. Derek says, Ryan, are we better, worse, or at the same point, or the same at this point in Greg Gard's almost 10-year tenure? Bo had been to 3 Sweet 16s and an Elite 8 in his first 10 with multiple conference chips. The jig is up on Greg Gard. I should do that. That's like a whole show topic, Derek. That's a great question, by the way, Derek. That is an excellent question. Are we better, worse, or on the same point 10 years into Greg Gard's tenure? I mean, I'm going to shelve that almost for a show. I think that makes a really good show topic. If you remember when he first took over, though, that team he took over for was floundering. That Bo Ryan team, that team was on the precipice of spiraling downward. He did kind of save that season. But yeah, he's not Bo Ryan. That's the thing. He's not Bo Ryan. He's never going to be Bo Ryan because there's never going to be another Bo Ryan. That's a Hall of Fame coach. Hall of Fame coaches come along as often as great Badger quarterbacks. Sorry, I'm salty right now. No, he's a Hall of Fame coach. Greg Gard's not that. But neither are 98% of college basketball coaches. So I don't know. I think it's a great topic, though. I'm gonna do that. Brian Dodson said Arizona's a great team, period. Agreed. I 100% agreed. Kenneth Pulfus, fire guard, 2 exclamation points. I don't think so. Again, this has been a tremendously difficult schedule. How many teams in the country have a better record with the schedule we have? A couple, maybe 5. He's done fine this year, and he's upgraded the talent. I have issues with Greg Gard. I've talked about it. I think he's too stubborn at times. I think Blackwell needs to play more. I probably would have started a Siegen this year. I think he needs to commit to playing a little faster, right? But he also has some really good qualities. Players really like him. The guys on the team speak highly of him. The team typically plays pretty disciplined. I'm not on the fire guard bandwagon considering who we played this year and who we beat. But I understand that. I have no issues if that's where you're at. Let's see. Ryan Bolt says Arizona was on fire. Don't Badger Me says that's right. We're not a national championship team, but we'll have a good year. Yeah, I agree. Pedro says Kaminsky was a 2-star, so maybe it's player development we need to focus on. Kaminsky was a 3-star guy, and he's also kind of a unicorn. You're not going to hit on a 3-star guy that you develop into a national player of the year very often in a lottery pick. That's just insane. BZ says we cannot have a Siegen and Gilmore out there at the same time. When we do, it's basically 4-on-5 on both ends. That's a good point. We talk a lot about Gilmore and just some of the offensive struggles, and it's not to kill him. It's just watching the game. They space off of him tremendously, and it makes it very difficult, especially against really good teams. It makes it very difficult for the other guys to get their shots. But other teams also kind of attack a Siegen defensively, and in a way, it causes some scramble situations on that end. You just need more. So here's the thing. Here's the real answer, right? Who else would you play? If you don't want to play Connor and you don't play Carter Gilmore, who else would you play? Because that's the problem. That's the crux of it. This team doesn't quite have enough depth yet, right? It's a body or two short, and you see it when you play a team like Arizona. You could really use a springy front court depth guy to bring off the bench. I could come in and spell Wahl, and I could spell Stephen Crowl and provide you some athletic minutes. You could really use another playmaker. Now next year that guy could be Daniel Freitag, right? And that's a great get. But having if Gus could have played this year, it would have helped a lot. That would have given you another body in the middle. All right, a bunch more comments coming up. Let's take a quick break. I do want to talk about our friends of the show, and then we're going to continue just on the comments. Again, Badgers get trucked in Tucson. About 3/4 of the game, it really didn't feel like it was going to be competitive after that first couple minutes. So we're going to keep talking about it, get your thoughts, and continue moving on with the show. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at eBay Motors. Again, eBay Motors is the #1 spot for all of your ride or die vehicles. Everything you need to keep moving, running. eBay Motors is there, and they're there for the people, the normal people, the people who quite frankly need a little bit of help finding the right parts. Because I'm a dude, I'll go into a car place and I'll be like, I need this. And they're like, well, do you have the V4, the V6, the inline, the turbo, the LE, the SE? I'm like, bro, I don't know. I have a car and it makes weird noises. eBay Motors makes it much easier to find the parts you need at the prices you need in the time you need it. Over 122 million parts for your #1 car, your #1 ride or die. You always find exactly what you're looking for. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts at the prices you need, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. That's ebaymotors.com. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. All right, let's get some more questions and comments and thoughts in here. Let's see. Let's go down to the end here. Easton Park says, I'm just scared about the future of our front court maybe looking like when Crowl and Wahl are gone, Winter and Bus, but who will back them up? Transfer portal guy? I think that's the one thing with the portal in a school like Wisconsin. And when I say a school like Wisconsin, I mean a school that has the ability to lure people in with money, with culture, with big time conference. If there's a hole, they should be able to find front court depth. They should. I mean, they found AJ Storr this year. Max Klesman, like they found real dudes in the portal. So I think they'll be fine. I think Winter's going to develop. I think he's going to be pretty good. There's certainly a possibility, Robeson could be a guy who could develop into a kind of a 4 if he gets a little bigger, just from a strength perspective, because he can really shoot it. He's, I think, 6'8". So there's possibilities there. But the portal is always going to be there to kind of fill in some of the gaps. As Scotty for Life mentioned, he said guard went all in on Winter. There were some comments about zones. Why didn't guard maybe go into a zone? Randy A said, we can't play a team like that man-to-man. Guard refuses to play zone. So multiple questions. Like this is another one. This hits on another thing that frustrates me a little bit with great guard. I think having a zone you can occasionally go to is really helpful. Like it's just a little tool in your back pocket that you can throw out there. And it's not to stop a team like Arizona. The way Arizona was shooting today, they probably would have destroyed a zone. Let's be completely honest. We weren't beating Arizona today if we had a 6-person zone. Like they were just dicing us up. And by the way, a zone doesn't matter if you don't get back in defensive transition. Like in transition, you're playing man until you can get set up. And they were scorching us in transition. So it wouldn't matter. But the bigger picture is it frustrates me that guard doesn't have a zone that he can go to, that he trusts, that he practices, just to use as a quick changeup to try to throw an opposing team off. Like it is what it is. He's never going to change, I don't think. It was a Bo Ryan thing too. And generally his defenses are pretty good. Like, so maybe I shouldn't be complaining about it. I do think you would like him to have some type of changeup though, that he could occasionally go to. Let's keep going here. Jeff Olson, I had this thought too. Chucky was looking to facilitate too much and not for a shot. So Chucky finished with 6 assists, 1 turnover. Pretty efficient from that standpoint. He was 3 of 9. I think here's the thing with Chucky. Here's the thing with Chucky, Klesman a little bit. Arizona has length and athleticism, right? And the way they were playing everything, we do a lot of continuity pick and roll. We do a lot of dribble handoffs, and they were really going over this, like chasing over the screen. So basically, providing pressure on the backside and having that kind of big man drop in to provide that kind of a little bit of coverage. Essentially, you have a mid-range jumper if you want it, but that's not an easy shot. All right, coming off the pick and roll, somebody right behind you, a big man in front of you. That's not an easy shot. So I don't know if Chucky was finding a lot of room to find shots for himself. Like Arizona played it really well is my bigger point. Like they weren't going under screens. They were really fighting over stuff. They played really hard defensively. They extended pressure. They got into passing lanes a little bit. And when you got into the paint, they challenged shots. Occasionally the refs let them challenge shots a little too much. AJ Storr on baseline and tried to yam on somebody and got both arms hacked off with an axe. But that's neither here nor there. Arizona just played really well defensively. And Chucky, I think, is always going to struggle a little bit against bigger, longer, athletic backcourts defensively because he's not a really, really big guy. He's a smaller point guard. He doesn't have great verticality at the rim, so he's going to struggle to make shots at the point of attack. It's just a bad matchup for him a little bit. And even then, he went 3 and 9. That's not terrible. He had 6 assists. I thought he did okay. But I do get your point, Jeff. He could have been a little more physical, or he could have been a little more aggressive trying to find shots, especially in moments. That is probably the point in moments where the game was getting away, where you want your veteran point guard to step up and try to take over a little bit. I don't think it would have mattered tonight. Arizona was just too good today, but that is a good point there. Ryan Whaley says, if McIntosh wants to compete for Natty's, guard isn't the guy. It's possible, but again, there's a big gap. There's a big delta between competing for natties and really bad teams. And on that scale, guards teams, I mean, even just especially this year, they're more in the good than the bad, right? It's hard. I'm not saying don't compete for natties. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying it's hard to move off of a successful coach too. And I think guard for the most part has been successful. Maybe I'm not being as critical on him as I need to be. I'm not as down on guard as a lot of people are. I really think over the last year, he's really upgraded the talent on this team. And we've seen it. Like coming into this year, if I told you, and if you were a guy who wasn't on the great guard bandwagon, which is totally fair, like all these opinions are welcome on this show. But if you were a guy that wasn't, I said, hey, we're going to start this year. We're going to lose to Tennessee Providence, but we're going to beat Virginia. We're going to beat MSU. We're going to beat Marquette, lose to Arizona. Like, I feel like you would have been like, okay, guard is showing me something. Now, you shouldn't. There is an element of you can't go to Arizona and lose by 30, right? That's a bad performance. That's different than just losing, but I don't know. Chef Duarte, I'm sure I'm mispronouncing. I don't even know why I put an accent on that. Said free throw attempts were low for Wisconsin. Yeah, very low, especially for a team that's gotten to the line quite a bit. And for Arizona, they were very high. I think Arizona shot 26 free throws, which all those stats, by the way, that shows you Arizona was more aggressive, right? They were getting into the paint. They shot a bunch more free throws. They had more blocks. They had more steals. They had more points off turnovers. They had more points in transition. All of those hustle plays, all the plays that are about, I give a crap right now a little bit more than you do. Arizona won those handily. And that's frustrating to me because I can take getting out athleted this year. I can take getting out talented this year. Arizona has both of those in spades. Arizona should not outwork us. It felt like they outworked us this year or this game. And that's partially reflected in free throw attempts. Like when you're playing really hard and you're getting into pain and you're battling, you're going to inherently get more free throw attempts. Arizona crushed us in that tonight. It's actually one of the biggest spots of this game. Jeff's Garden Tour says coaches don't win championships, players do. I think both do. I don't think you win a championship without really good coaches and really good players. And coaches get the players. Like it's you need both, right? I have, if you tell me which one is more important, it's players, right? It's obvious. Like every coach will tell you this. Kirby Smart tells you this. Like it's about recruiting, but you're not going to win a title with a bad coach. So I think you need both. Herb Rosenberger says defensive intensity was missing today. Why? So for your first question, I 100% agree. Defensive intensity was not there. To your second point, why? I don't know. I think it started out okay. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a good answer for that. And I don't want to speculate. Like sometimes you have bad games. And sometimes I think on the road, typically more with younger teams, which is a little weird because this is not a young Wisconsin team, but things can snowball and it gets away from you. I don't know. Champy says Arizona is a blue blood. Yeah, I think they are on a basketball side. Arizona's really good. I don't know. Let's see. Don't Badger Me says Natties now need NIL and lots of it. On football and basketball side, you got to be able to pay. Joseph S says Arizona just look bigger and stronger. I agree. All right, we'll kind of wrap it up there. For all the Arizona fans that are watching, congrats. You guys were great. Never forget the 2 Elite Eights. So we'll always have that on you. Never forget those 2 games where we broke y'all's heart. Anyway, on Wisconsin, big picture takeaways, guys. Hey, thank you for tuning into the show. I'll wrap all these comments up. We'll get a big kind of comment reaction show. But big picture, it's just one game. It was a bad game, a bad performance, an unacceptable performance, but it is just one game. Overall, this stretch has still been really good for Wisconsin. I anticipate us bouncing back and playing better, but I do think this shows you the delta between where Wisconsin is right now and where Wisconsin needs to get. It needs to get bigger, longer, and more athletic. And that's not a surprise to any of us. We've said that. We've said that for a while. Oh, we got an Arizona fan in here. Champy says, it's okay. I'll remember our natty from 1997. You probably weren't alive in 1997, Champy. Stop it. Let's see. One more comment here. Let's take one more last comment. Joey Peterson does have a good one here. Should be mentioned, Arizona not played in a week, and we just went through a gauntlet. Yeah, that's a good point. Arizona had a week to prep for Wisconsin. Wisconsin just battled through two teams. Like, scheduling matters, timing matters. It is what it is. It's just one game, road game against a really good team. Wisconsin's going to blow out in a month. Nobody's going to look back at it and say, no one's probably even going to remember it. Wisconsin is still going to be one of the better teams in the Big Ten this year. John Blackwell is a star. There's still good stuff happening here. You're never as good or as bad as your film. So with that, on Wisconsin, we'll talk later this week. Expect a couple, hopefully, 2024 commits coming on. I think Emilio Lagarde's coming on. I do think there's another one potentially coming on. A couple other guests as well. So it's going to be really exciting. I think we have Brian Smith coming on tomorrow. He's very connected to a certain transfer portal quarterback that might be visiting. So we're going to talk about that. A lot coming up this week on Wisconsin. Thank you all so much. Let's go.